What is going on, everyone? James Livingston here, yet again, bringing you guys another video here this week. Big week we got going on right now. Obviously, yesterday we did have CPI data. Today we do have PPI data, which, if you're not familiar, is essentially the wholesale end of the what's the word I'm looking for? Inflation. Sorry, I had a brain fart there. But yeah, wholesale end of inflation there. So just kind of looking out there on the daily right now for SPY. SPY is, again, kind of just trending within this little range at the moment. Hasn't made any kind of crazy moves just yet. Again, like I said yesterday, I kind of expected CPI to really play fairly choppy. You can see we did not break the high necessarily of yesterday, of Tuesday. Wednesday's candle generally stayed within the price action of Tuesday. So, we can look at that as more of an inside setup. So these inside setups are usually pretty nice in my opinion. These are kind of one of my favorite setups because you're either going to get a push to the upside or a push to the downside. It's usually pretty simple like that. It's essentially price action just kind of consolidating down to a bigger move. Now, I think that the bullish side is favored in this aspect just due to the overall, trends still being intact. The 4-hour 20 MA is holding up very well. 1 hour, we just reclaimed it yesterday and this morning. Daily wise, obviously we're still well above it. So I am still looking for upside at the moment. Not really concentrated mostly on downside. I think the bias is definitely up. So right now, there's a couple key levels. I think when PPI data comes out today and we open up the market, we're going to see a little bit better moves. Just my opinion, but I do believe that we can take out the high of day from yesterday, 599.30, just about. I think if we take that out, then there's a good chance that we go higher up towards 600, 601, and possibly even creating a new high here today. And same thing for downside. If the downside wants to break down, I think that it's most likely going to happen if we break underneath the 597 level completely. 597 if you want to be really safe, just because again we are at highs. The trend is definitely for the bulls. So these small breakdowns here in price action, we could still see a bounce down in this little zone right here, where we've already bounced twice this week, Tuesday and yesterday, Wednesday. So it's worth mentioning that maybe if you want to be safe, you want to wait for the breakdown fully of about 595. 595 was that level from FOMC. I've been mentioning it a lot in our Discord, and I'm hoping some people are taking some notes, because 595 was when FOMC happened. That level needed to be held in order for us to push up to about 597, and then so on and so forth, up to 599.60s to 600. That was the level we had to hold in order to continue up. So 595 is kind of that level in the sand for me, that if we break it, there is a good chance that we will push down, likely much, much harder. I'm eyeing up generally that 590 zone way down here. So about 590, 590.30 all the way up to about 590.60, somewhere within the 590 dollar range is kind of what I would be eyeing if we do break down. But again, it's all contingent on the PPI report, on how the reaction to it is, not necessarily what the report is about, but how the reaction is. And that's how everyone should be trading, how everyone should be looking at these is, in the short term, we don't necessarily care what the inflation report says, but we want to see how the market is reacting to it. That's what's most important to us as day traders. Now, obviously, for swing trading and stuff, you want to pay a little bit more attention to those fundamentals and know, what it means, because some of these moves could just be, again, opposite reactions for the real reaction later on in the week or next week. So things to kind of just consider there. But right now, those are the levels I'm looking at, 599.25 to be exact for the upside on SPY. And then as far as downside, like I said, 597, you can probably find an entry there for a small short down to 595 or 595.5. But 595 is kind of that level in the sand, or the line in the sand, if you will, where if we break below it, I think we're likely to see some heavier push to the downside. We've got a lot of open range down there under that level to see the next one, which I believe is around 590. So that's what I'm looking at there on SPY. With QQQ, we get a very similar setup. However, a little bit more range bound, which is, again, kind of nice. We have this area up here that we identified yesterday, or I think we identified this around maybe Monday or Tuesday, to be honest. Up at around 515.60 to 516, you know, just underneath that all-time high right there. So that's the ultimate goal right now. But in order to get up there, I do believe there's a very clear level right here at about 514. Let's get about 514.15. This actually might have been one of our levels the other day. But 514.15 is kind of that spot where I think if we break it, a good chance that we're going to go back up into the 515s, 516s, maybe so on and so forth. QQQ tends to move a little bit more volatile sometimes, so if we do get that push, I expect a little bit more follow through straight up through that 516 level. So that's for upside. As far as downside here, you know, again, have a pretty clear level where it's tapped out before, just about 511 psychological level. Breakdown of that. Now be careful on the breakdown here, because again, we've had already two touches down here at the just about 510 psychological, and I think 510 psychological actually holds a little bit more weight as the 30-minute time frame right here, which I usually get my levels on the 15, but on the 30-minute here we can actually see that the 200 EMA is right there as well. So we could create more of a triple bottom setup. Would not be surprised on either one of these SPY QQQ to also see a sweep of one direction and then continuing the opposite direction. So I know it's a little confusing, but we just really need to wait for proper confirmations, proper levels to break out. You know, we look at this level right here and we can obviously see that once we break this, there's not much holding us back from going down much further. I think that your risk to reward here on QQQ for the downside is definitely a lot nicer. You know, upside wise, once we start clearing this 516.70, again, we don't necessarily have levels to rely on going forward, so we really have to just focus on how does the price action look, how's the volume, how's the momentum continuation looking, so on and so forth, because we really don't have any levels up here to look for. You know, we have psychological levels to watch out for, 517, 518, 520, but outside of that, we don't have much levels. Downside, we've got some more clear-cut levels to watch out for. You know, we had a resistance right here, turned into a support at about 506, 505, is it 505? No, 506 to about 506.30. We have one right there. We also have, you know, prior resistance right here at about 502, 503 to about 503.5, and then we have, you know, a little bit bigger of one right over here at $500 psychological level. So we've got some levels to the downside that we can watch out for. Upside, we start to get limited. That's why, even though the bias is bullish, you still need to be careful moving up, because we are in uncharted territory. This thing can really reject at any point. So we just need to be careful and make sure that we're taking care of our stops and watching those accordingly. So right here, IWM has been actually one of the stronger ones I've seen out of the three, pushing, you know, had that nice kind of pattern in the beginning of the week, gapped up, had a nice move over it. I would have liked to have seen more of a kind of bounce here off the CPI data yesterday in order for this pattern to still kind of validate as a pullback and continuation. Right now we are entering into, you know, downtrend territory, at least on the smaller time frames, where we're seeing this obvious, you know, downward channel. So at this moment, we've got a downward channel. We've also got a little bit of a head and shoulders kind of forming out here. So we've got obviously shoulder, head, and it looks like we're creating this other shoulder over here. If we break this neckline here at about 235, we're likely to see a decent pullback. You know, we have first stops level down here, which is right about just about 233. But if 233 gets lost, then we have that big gap that we kind of created there from, I believe it was the election evening. So we have the election gap right down here takes us all the way down back into the high 220s, so 226, 227. So there's definitely more opportunity, I think, right now on IWM for downside. But, you know, all kind of patterns aside, if we're just strictly looking at levels here for IWM, I really, I think yesterday I kind of mentioned this too, I still really like the 239 level. I think 239 is what we need to get above. It's going to break that downward channel, and it'll allow us to continue back to the upside. As far as downside, again, 235 is really kind of my level in the sand right now, that if we break that, we're going to go down to the bottom of the range on the downtrend and likely go for the gap underneath of it. So that's the plan there on IWM. Very simple, straightforward. Tesla, everyone's favorite stock, you know, the one that ripped, absolutely ripped after the election. We're finally starting to see, you know, somewhat of weakness in this one. We finally tapped out, or kind of topped out at about 360 just about. Daily right now is showing some bearishness, some bearish confluence. You know, arguably you could say that we might be forming a little bit of a flag style pattern right now. It all depends. I think if we can't hold that 317, 316, I'll mark out just a little box right here. If we can't hold this little region right here, I think it's more likely that we will end up traveling back down to the $300 psychological level, which in my opinion, I would like to see 300 get retested again before looking at longs on this. I just think that we're in kind of this pullback right now. Price action trying to identify, you know, where it's going to find some support. And I do believe that around $300 would make the most sense to find support down there. But again, around that mid-teens, 316, 317 area, there is still a chance that we can find a bounce here. You know, maybe a little wick below it and then a bounce right off of it. Something I'm watching for here today, specifically with PPI data. Now, if we're looking at strictly levels for Tesla, right now I think you can rotate the trend a little bit here. Once we break above about 333, we had an intraday bounce right there, pre-market support, and then intraday yesterday we had resistance there again. So very pivotal level. You can see we pivot off it a lot. But 333 would be that spot for me for upside. And as far as downside, to get a move, I think you're looking at about 322. 322 was, I think, our level yesterday too for downside. But generally, 322, if we break it down, you know, we have that zone right underneath. I wouldn't hold this very, very long. I would say you probably got into the teens there if we break it. Again, high teens, like 317, 318. I'd probably be looking to take some profits off on this. Unless the strength is just bonkers, then, you know, use your better judgment in those cases. But, you know, Tesla can be very rewarding here soon, I think. And then we got NVDA. NVIDIA is one here that I've been looking at because I still feel like this pattern that I was eyeing up, this inverse head and shoulders, is still kind of there to play out. We have the shoulder, we have the head, we're forming the other shoulder right now. I still believe there's a chance that this can play out. 149.60 is exactly to the cent almost that spot that we need to break above. And typically, you know, how these things play out is you'll end up seeing something along the lines of a break above, a pull back to the neckline, consolidation, and then a break back up. That's generally how I see these things playing out. So just keeping an eye there for NVIDIA. But NVIDIA not looking too bad as far as the lower time frame setups. Obviously, daily wise, you know, we're still not looking terrible. We could take another trip back down to the low 140s, 142, 143, test that 20 EMA on the daily. But ultimately on the 30-minute time frame, I do believe we've got an opportunity here. If PPI data can come out and get a positive reaction, and NVIDIA can get themselves going here, I think NVIDIA could be very profitable today, breaking over 150. So just some ideas that I'm looking at. But overall levels right now for NVIDIA, again, I think upside, I wouldn't look really upside until we break that 149.60. Downside, I think if we break below that low of day from yesterday, about 146 on the dot, it would break that 30-minute 200 EMA and start to invalidate this inverse head and shoulders and push us down lower. So a couple ideas there for you guys. But nonetheless, that is it for today, guys. PPI data, make sure you are sizing down if you aren't already. I'm going to start putting out, like I said, a couple more videos as far as, detailed entries, exits. I have a kind of, what do I want to say? A video on Upstart UPST, because I did make a video on it back January 21st of 2024, so earlier this year, kind of giving my thoughts on it, and so far it's played out to the T. You guys will see in that video. And also I want to start doing some live streaming on YouTube. So I think what I'm going to do, because it is going to be evening, it's going to be more Forex centered, but maybe for those of you that might be interested in Forex, this could be a good way to kind of get into it and see how it works, how price action works, how I play it, etc., etc. So obviously, if you want to get yourself signed up with a Forex account, I do have a link in my description for my personal. It's an affiliate link for myself, so it's not going to charge you anything different, just so you know that I make a little bit off of it. Not that big of a deal, but just so you guys are aware and I'm being transparent with you. And of course, if you guys aren't a part of a good community, Alpha Stocks Lab, we have our community down below. Please, 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 if you don't have a community, join. It's great for accountability, keeping discipline, and just overall improving your trading, learning. We're constantly in there throwing out little nuggets of knowledge, and we're hoping that some of you guys are catching on to them and really starting to appreciate them, and hopefully they're helping at the end of the day. So obviously, leave a like on the video, guys. Comment down below. Let me know what you guys are thinking, what you like about these videos, what you don't like, etc. I'm completely open to criticism. I just want to know how I can better assist you guys moving forward. And of course, if you're new here, please hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys tomorrow, Friday, November 15th. Have a good day. Be safe. PPI day. And yeah, if you're in the community, I'll talk to you in there. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.